tomorrow. Right now, we welcome ESPN's Todd Archer, and no better time to talk to the esteemed Todd Archer than in the wake of that fireworks display yesterday at AT&T Stadium. Todd, you've had a lot to cover, right, over the course of your career, especially covering the Cowboys. But one of the things I want to ask you off the top of the show, the offensive output, right? Let's start positive here. How much does Brian Schottenheimer deserve credit, or how much credit does he deserve for that? The offense in these first 2 weeks, outside of a couple possessions, has looked really good, better than I expected.
Yeah, the fourth quarter in Philadelphia was not good. Really, the second half in Philadelphia, I guess, really wasn't very good. And then the first quarter of the Giants game wasn't very good. The first two possessions they struggled. But yeah, I mean, you put up 40 points. Yeah, granted, 3 of them came in overtime, but I think situationally how they played, forget the end of the half yesterday, that wasn't very good. But 25 seconds left, you need a field goal, and you have your timeouts. They use those wisely. The Javonte Williams run where they got up and he got 3 yards, and then they called the timeout right before the kick. I think Schottenheimer's done a good job situationally with the Cowboys, understanding those moments. And look, if they were scoring 10 points a game, what would we be saying about Brian Schottenheimer's offense, right? So you have to be fair and say that they're doing some really good things. Javonte Williams, excellent start to the season, a guy that no one thought of much when they brought him in from Denver. He's got 3 touchdowns in 2 games. Cowboys have 4 rushing touchdowns in the first 2 games. They had 6 all of last year. That's
wow. That is a great stat right there. I had not seen that yet. That is illuminating. Offensively, I do like where they're going. Defensively, it's the exact opposite. And during the offseason, I really thought that Matt Eberflus would have an immediate impact. That hasn't been the case yet. I know you've covered Eberflus a lot. Where do you think he has come up short so far this season? Or is it not on him? Is it a Jimmy's and Joe's type situation?
It's a little bit of that, but I'll start positive. I think their run defense has actually been pretty good. And I don't know what the Giants run for yesterday. 84 yards, 21 carries, and Russell Wilson had 23 of those yards on scrambles, right? So, one scatterboo run. I think the run defense has been acceptable. The pass defense is not. And, a lot of people wonder, right, does a pass rush make a secondary, or does a secondary make a pass rush? I think we've seen the answer. We know the pass rush makes a secondary. So the Cowboys have to do something to fix that and help the guys on the back end, certainly. But maybe that's what Jadeveon Clowney can do. Again, he's the guy who had 5.5 sacks last year. I don't know if you come in and say, there's your Micah Parsons replacement. I wouldn't go there yet for him, obviously, at this stage of his career. But they have to mix their coverages more. They have Trayvon Diggs is an excellent cornerback, but he's not been a big zone guy. I think he likes just say, give me that guy, tell me to cover him, and I'll stay with him. Their safety struggled big time yesterday. Some of that's the pass rush not getting home quick enough. But there are things that they have to change up and mix up and show more looks, as opposed to just sitting back, not wanting to give up the big play, and, oh, by the way, giving up the big play. So nothing really worked yesterday.
What do you see the Clowney signing as? You reported yesterday that the deal will get done after the game, and I've been dying to ask you this because I knew we were going to have you on, and I'm really grateful to have you. Do you think it's more about optics for this signing? Because really, you 5.5 sacks last year. The guy got, I think he was 2014 was his draft class. He was taken number 1. I mean, we're talking somebody who's a little long in the tooth coming off the edge. Is it more the name, like Jerry saying, hey, look, we're doing something? Or is this a guy that can really have an impact?
Well, he's the best guy available if you look at what's available now, right? We can go back and say, if you were going to trade Micah Parsons, trade him before the draft so you could make some different decisions on how you're going to go about it. But they didn't do that. So this is a best case scenario at a worst case time to bring in a guy like this. It's interesting. He has 58.5 career sacks, and you said 2014 was his rookie year. Micah had 52.5 in his first 4 years. He's got what will be now. He's got 54 for his career after the sack and a half that he's got up in Green Bay. So I like the signing. I like what it can do. But to think that this guy is going to flip the fortunes of the pass rush, you can't. That's not fair to him, right? I mean, but it's just another piece that they can get to, because so far they're not getting home with their 4 guys. So they have to bring extra guys. And what does that do? That exposes your back end as well. Now, yesterday, they still brought 4 and were still exposed. So I don't know if yesterday's a one-off and you just throw it away and say that's not going to happen again. But what do you think Cleveland's going to, or excuse me, what do you think Chicago is going to try and do this week against this defense? They're going to try and block it up and make some big plays down the field.
When you watch that Malik Neighbors touchdown late, to me it was like, even somebody who covers the team, I was like, oh, here we go again. I felt like it was a sliding doors moment. Like, this team just can't get off the schneid. They do. They get the win in overtime thanks to Brandon Aubrey. Do you feel like that was sort of a signature win? I know that's maybe not the best term this early in the season, but where you can flush a lot of those bad vibes. Like, what was it like in there yesterday after the game when you consider that, you know, the Micah thing too? I would imagine this puts that a little further in the rear view.
Well, of course, they're all going to say that this is a win that can carry over and help them down the road when they're in bad situations. They can go back to that and remember when we beat the Giants when we're down a field goal with 25 seconds to go. I get all that. To me, this can go either of two ways. And I'm no kidding, Todd, you're going to say this, but 2003 week 2, Parcells' first season at New York, they win a game by tying it at the end of regulation, and then Billy Cundiff wins it in overtime with a field goal. They go on and win the next 5. They go 10-6, make the playoffs. Week 2, Mike McCarthy's first year, home against Atlanta, the watermelon onside kick against Dan Quinn. They win that game 40-39, whatever the heck it was. How did that season end up for the Cowboys? 6-10, Dak gets hurt, awful season. So this is kind of a crossroads moment. And these games, like when you play Chicago 0-2, when you look at what's down the road with Micah the following week, you better be 2-1 going into that game against the Packers. You better be 4-2 after your first 6 games when you look at what's down the road with their schedule. So this was absolutely a must-win, even in week 2 against New York. How they got it, I don't think we'll be talking about that come December if they're still in this thing. But if they're out of it, I think we would say, man, remember how lucky they got against the Giants? They could be 4 and whatever at this point of the season if they didn't have that win.
Yeah, I think it really is that's football, right? Like the ball bouncing your way can really build confidence. Dak Prescott has looked very confident this year, and someone like you can help me tap into why. I mean, obviously physically the eyeball test he passes, but what's different about him this year? He's moving better. He just really seems like he's more in control and more confident in the pocket. The pocket looks cleaner. Is that Dak or is that the protection? What is that?
I think the offensive line play has been good against 2 very good fronts early in the season, Philadelphia and the Giants. I think they're running the ball better than they did it certainly last year, so that helps a quarterback as well. But you hit on something of Dak's ability to move. Last year, he didn't move. And then the one game he tried to move, he tears his hamstring off the bone and has to have surgery, and he's out for the season. So he was really intentional in the offseason of making sure he was running more. There were times in Oxnard where he'd make a handoff and sprint 40 yards down the field. They didn't want him to come in the season for the first time having to, quote, run scared in that first game against the Eagles. They wanted him to get his work in training camp to make sure that he would have full and complete faith in that hamstring holding up when he had to run. You look at yesterday's game, sets up the winning field goal by escaping trouble, getting down the field 14 yards. And it was interesting, after the game, he's like, I told you I could run. Well, he's not the first 3 years Dak where he had 18 rushing touchdowns, but he's certainly looking a lot better than he did last year. And that bodes well. But the confidence stuff, like to me, like Dak's a really good quarterback. Like he's always been that was his 24th fourth quarter overtime drive win of his career. I think he just tied Romo for the most in team history. So he's been a guy who's delivered in the regular season. Everything about Dak and the questions people have comes when they make the playoffs. So whatever he does in this regular season, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but he'll have to up his game if and when the Cowboys make the playoffs.
Todd Archer from ESPN. A couple more questions for you, and I'll let you get out of here. I can't imagine how busy you are on a day like today. With all the things that you cover in the Cowboys universe, you only have so many words you can write. Like, is there a story this season that you've been kind of looking to get out that you haven't had the time or literally just the bandwidth to share with people? Like any big story around the Cowboys that people really aren't talking about this year that you know about that's really interesting?
No, I mean, we cover the team so in depth, like it's hard to think we're missing something. I'm sure there is, right? We covered the Micah trade from every angle you could possibly cover. I think the one story I'd like to start digging into is the Marvion Overshown's comeback from this knee deal.
Yes,
Like,
dude.
you watch this guy do his rehab work off to the side, and you're like, man, he looks good. Now, I know there's like so many more hoops he has to get through before he can come back and play. But here's a guy that tore 3 ligaments in his knee last, what was that, December, November, whenever the hell it was, late in the
It was
season.
November, yeah.
Yeah. And he's looking the part. Like, that's the story that I'd like to kind of maybe try to dive into before he gets back. But we have a story actually coming up on ESPN.com, and people probably won't like it because it's Jerry Jones related. Just what it's like in those post-game scrums with him outside the locker room. We have something coming up that in a few weeks will be on NFL Countdown that you guys can check out.
Dude, see, that content I'm here for. I fascinated by Jerry Jones, and that leads me to my next question. I want to piggyback off what you said though with Overshown. When is he coming back? When is he scheduled to come back?
The way it was explained to me, it would be sometime around Thanksgiving.
Okay.
But again, you watch what he does out there, and he's not doing side to side and football drills and anything like that just yet. But it makes you think it could be sooner. But I know they're going to be conservative with his return because, again, that's a major deal, man. 3 ligaments, that's not something that you just say. I hate to even say like that's not just an ACL, right? I mean, that's the 3 major ones in your knee, and he looks the part right now. So I'll stick with the around Thanksgiving time.
When the Cowboys were at their bottom last year, right? It just felt like they had cratered. He was a guy going to the game. You could watch him like a football sicko on every play, and you'd get your money's worth. He's that good, and he's just that charismatic of a ball player, right? He's electric.
He's like Micah in some respects, right? Like, you knew where 11 was when he was on the field because you could see him run by everybody. You know, now he's number 0. We've not seen him in that number yet. But you knew when 13 was on the field last year because he could run by guys. He could make game-changing plays. Think of the pick 6 that he had last year where he tipped it up in the air to himself and then he goes and scores. So yeah, he's a dynamic athlete. Seems like a great kid. We haven't gotten to know him much because he's been hurt more than he's played. But you just hope that for his sake, he's able to overcome these injuries and have the type of career that certainly last year for the first 8 games looked like he was trending and going to become one of the NFL's better linebackers.
Now, as you cover the team for as long as you have, I always break Matt Mosley's balls about this because I think he should write a book. Like, are you like, when you write all this stuff, do you have a specific folder you save some of it in and think to yourself, like, someday I got to write a book on this stuff because there's just so much on the bone here. And it is so interesting. You look back to the summertime. I mean, that documentary, I've read all the books on the Cowboys, and I still learned new stuff in it. I mean, there's a lot here for the fans. Have you thought about writing a book at all?
No. Maybe if they win a Super Bowl, because then it becomes something that more people would want to read. Now it's more just about the pain and the suffering that fans have felt for the last 30 seasons. If Mosley wrote a book about the Cowboys, it would turn into a book about him. So I don't know how many people would want to read that.
Todd Archer, man, you have said it all, dude. Check him out on ESPN.com. I really appreciate the time,
Yeah,
Todd.
no problem. Thanks for having me on.
I've been reading you for a very long time and watching you on TV. Very cool to talk to you, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
You too.